We're recording, so we capture the screen and whatever we say.
Oh, nice.
All right, so for this first page, so you want to scroll down to see what you. I liked your rationale.
Good. Kind of added a couple things because we started it, but then I.
Loved your video.
Perfect.
And then you reflected on. This is what I couldn't find. You put reflection. Oh yeah, they're appeared now. They weren't there this morning.
It was hiding from you, so you can think of questions.
Okay. So yeah, I probably will read and respond tonight on this one.
Okay.
But we can just do. Give me your sense of what skill did you focus in on here, under which competency?
I focused in on the video. That was the artifact that I focused in on, obviously. And then I just kind of talked about how we were collaborating and had to come meet up out of class and communicate and stuff like that. So I was able to work.
So this one, right?
Yes.
So growth mindset under this competency, collaboration skills, right?
So just how we were able to create more or less a seamless unit instead of having bumps in the road and having kind of this is one lesson instead of just a whole unit. So it kind of was able to flow and we were able to work together and build off of each other's lessons.
And you had the idea of the ending, and then you were working.
Yeah, so we kind of went backwards and had the final project and then kind of fit in pieces how it was going to look and how we were going to be able to build up and then finally make the final project and to see if they're going to be able to do it and kind of make adjustments that way.
So the video is able to showcase our collaborative work throughout the term. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But it did because you had planning together, then working with two teams, and then two teams working with each other, right? Yeah. So all the way through it was a very social, interactive.
Yeah, that was one of the main domains that we were kind of challenging. And then the video, it kind of is comparable to what actually happened. So the video also ends with our main, our final project. So that was kind of a nice way of how we built the video. So and it shows how they're practicing and then moving through the sequences, kind of, and working together, and then finally ending.
One group teaching the other group. Right?
Yeah, and then you kind of see at the end how working together as a group, it looks in unity. It looks really awesome and just teamwork.
It's a great metaphor for the whole thing. Mm-hmm. So where did you place yourself competency-wise? And you looked at this. If you looked at my. So professional, able to work with other colleagues in productive, open manner, develop joint solutions to shared problems, able to accept and adapt to new ideas, is proficient or starting to extend. Or it could be, did you do this? Because the other one is this one, right? There's two. This is more you working with your peer.
Mm-hmm, that's the one.
This is more you building it in with your kids.
Yeah, I'm more focused on the collaboration skill with Trent.
So would you say you were developing or proficient?
I said developing and then kind of started leaning into more proficient and working together and stuff like that.
And therefore your goal would be?
So I said in order to become more proficient in this lesson, I think in the future we could work together more on the individual plans.
Right.
Where was I going with that? Preparation for the following lesson. Just because I know sometimes it was the day of kind of thing where you're okay, make sure this kind of flows in. Oh, don't forget to do this, and kind of back and forth between that, not sitting down sometimes that we should have.
So one thing you could have thought about, because Trent was hard because he was always off on his basketball, is to find a way of synchronizing online planning.
Yeah, we were communicating a lot through messages online and stuff like that, and then of course using Google in a nice way that.
And then if you plan online, I don't know how much you do that. You plan, they can edit, and then they can comment. But do that so you don't have to meet and do it, but actually get down. Because I'm actually doing that with people around the world now.
Yeah, I know. Right? Google's awesome for that.
And that would be maybe a goal to try and help your partner be able to do that as well. Because once you can both do it, the planning becomes so much easier. And then the moment before, you're just finalizing little bits, not fundamental shifts, right?
For sure.
Cool. Okay. So that would actually be a skill of developing how to plan asynchronously using the cloud-based software. And this, look at that background. Did you put this up yourself or find it?
Oh, I put it up myself.
That's very good. Mm-hmm. Did you make these public so people can use them?
Maybe.
Yeah, because that's how you got loads, because other people will choose yours.
Yeah, they're nice.
Really good. Yeah. and you've discovered how to make a skin.
Yeah. I know found out how to like embed things and stuff like that. Like I was having a hard time with my Google form.
Yeah.
But then it all worked out in the end. So I just it wouldn't let me upload it if I had like a file submission portion, because I was like, upload a photo here of you practicing at home or with a friend. But it wouldn't let me upload into Folios if I did take that away. So I just kind of noted at the top, seeing like the fourth page that I said I just had to take it out. But there was originally.
Was it in your personal Gmail or in the UVic one?
It was also in the UVic one, and then I tried to download it, but like
sometimes UVic one it blocks. Yeah, download it and put it in your personal one.
Yeah, I couldn't find how to download it, but it worked in the end.
Okay,
so.
But that's any doubt, just put your personal, because they put restrictions on to keep it within UVic, and that sometimes gets in the way. So this one, what did you focus on here?
Focus.
Theorizing.
Yes.
All right. So tell me what the artifact shows about theorizing skills.
So I guess just looking more at like the curriculum, and I think I more focused on the teaching styles and like the lesson sequence and how we were able to.
So this was this one, right?
Yes.
Right. So taking that and you plan through.
Yeah. So like using like the theory from the curriculum and stuff like that.
Yeah. Okay.
And building on making lessons that were appropriate to like their ability and stuff like that. I think that's what I was focusing on.
So what's interesting about theorizing skills is I like the idea of identifying this theory within the new curriculum. Mm-hmm. So what would you describe as the theory of the new curriculum? What do you think is driving it?
I think the language and kind of like the outcomes that they're hoping for, and shifting away from, I know, like the whole assessment that you were talking about.
So keep going with that, because this is interesting. What theory do you think, or theories are driving that new language? What do they think will happen for kids if teachers do what?
In making the new curriculum, I think they'll want to participate a little bit more and be more driven to, like, not compare themselves.
So why is that? What are they allowing kids to do in the new curriculum that probably wasn't in the curriculum that you experienced as much?
Having more like a chance to succeed and like not just fail and then move on, but like building on what their knowledge is and not like surpassing, like, oh, you don't know that, but we're still going to move on because this person in the class knows that.
So you do constructivism there, that's theory, based on, so people are building from what they have rather than a deficit model being shown what they don't have.
Yeah.
Right? And then the element of personalizing it means that we're not valuing one thing as the value, we have multiple routes, like I'm doing here. There's multiple routes that you can say valuing your learning.
Yeah.
And that is building your ability to do something rather than only predetermining outcome and do that. So those are two theories. You've got choice, constructivism, like from where you're at, and then the other part is the First Nations principles are in there. What theories are you think they are advocating? What's the theory of humanity that they're getting at?
Like incorporating the First Nations principles.
What are the First Nations? Why would we incorporate them?
I think it's really important because, like, territory acknowledgements, acknowledging that where they come from, we're on their land, and keeping that in like the education system because it's very important.
Good. But what is it about their principles? What do they advocate, do you think, in their principles when you read them, when they talk about what seems to be implied?
That there's more to learning than just learning like basic math and stuff like that, but there's like holistic and spiritual.
There you go.
Like different aspects like
which
that.
connects to yoga really well.
Yeah. I kind of said that like above in like the sequence and or the big ideas. Well, under the First Nations principles and stuff like that.
So that holistic is about things. Everything's connected, right?
Mm-hmm. And like using
you
the
can't separate
environment
it
and
actually,
the history.
right? Yeah. So everything's connected. Then anything you do has an impact on something else, and therefore you have to be responsible for what the impact is, not just what happened here. So if I litter here, I may not notice it, but it's affecting everything. So the goal is we're trying to teach a holistic understanding that what you do matters.
That's the big picture.
Right? It affects everyone else, and therefore you're responsible for it in a way that means you're part of a collective rather than an individual trying to beat everybody else. which is very opposite to what our westernized hegemonic society has created from a colonial background, which was invented by Victorians in order to dominate the world.
Yes.
Right? So as we let go of that history, this is a different way of how humanity exists in the world, which is huge, really. But it's a battle, because even the curriculum now is this pushback, right?
Yeah.
They want high-stake tests again, because you know what? If I can't pay to get my kid to get the highest marks, then I can't maintain my advantage.
Yeah, that's one way of looking at it, I guess. Like, what are people doing?
Well, part of that, I mean, I'm facetious myself, but it is what's coming back,
for
right?
sure.
Because now it gets more diverse, then how do you guarantee success? Well, for even the kid with someone that can pay for it, unless their passion's into it, they're not really successful if they get a high mark, because they're eventually going to quit.
Yeah.
You got to find that
so
passion.
much.
You got to find that thing that drives you, and that's the goal, right? It's again, First Nations believe everybody has a passion that benefits everybody else. You've got to find that, and then life becomes worth living, which is it's a philosophy of life, then, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I mean by theorizing. So yeah, you're developing and moving proficient, but then you've got to start identifying what's the theory that seems to be implied in this stuff that I'm starting to live in my practice.
Okay.
Because then your practice becomes more supported by what theories are out there that are being researched and say, yes, this leads to this.
Right. So I kind of maybe have like a little bit of the wrong idea, but it's
Getting there, no,
developing
yeah.
it.
Well, you're using Moss and Tuesday as a theory, it's a postulate, right?
It's,
Teaching is a chain of decision making. How do we get more kids involved in decision making will lead to more better positive outcomes in the learning domains. That's his theory.
okay, right.
So the more they do decisions and do it responsibly, the more they'll learn both effectively, psychomotor, socially, as well as cognitively.
So taking control of their own learning.
Yeah.
Yes, in a way.
And then the learning of their peers as well, which is when the models start to come in more and more. Right?
Yeah, we kind of we talked about that a little bit more in assessment, which is good. I don't really have, I don't think we really focused on too much about self assessment, self evaluation. I'm like a little bit, but I mean, I will get to that in like the 4th page where it said maybe we can incorporate some sort of
More
Google
into-
form or Google
Yeah.
Classroom, which also touches on like the technology one in here and stuff like that.
So you're thinking about your last page here? Is it, you were moving me towards that one?
Yeah, that was just touching on like the peer assessment and everything like that.
We'll go here first for lesson matter. We'll do this one first, right? So this was cool, lovely. Yeah? This worked very well. Your vision was there in the first lesson.
Yeah. I know we had the end product, but we're just gonna
Yeah.
pave the path to get to it.
Yeah. So what did you say at the top is? This is the bit, this is the bit you need to explain maybe a little bit around here. Add a little explanation.
Oh, okay.
And as you go on here. Oh, no, that's me. So
Oh, this is me.
is that you or me?
I just plugged in my stuff there. Probably
That's good.
super similar. I don't
Yeah, I think you adapted what I put on there.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. So yeah, you're starting to articulate it,
Okay.
right? And then at the bottom here, you focused in on probably assessment skills.
Yes.
So, and where do you think you are on that?
I think I said that we were same thing, developing or even proficient skills for assessing, just because we tried to incorporate it throughout most of our unit.
Right.
Whether that be, peer assessment. Like I said, we didn't really have too much of self-assessment, which it would have been
Yeah.
interesting to have a little bit more of in the future. That was kind of my goal
Right.
before.
Yeah.
Saying maybe informing students prior to coming to class, bring your own technology, or we could ask for like more iPads kind
Right.
of thing. And knowing that they use Google Classrooms, we could have maybe looked into making our own Google Classroom, so then they could have imported their own documents and photos and everything like that for all the class to see. And then going home, they could bring it up on a computer or something like
Right.
that, and then work on it. Be proud of it and show other people, which also connects to.
So one of the things I found to do that, because I didn't know, is if I get a teacher to share a folder with me, we could then put stuff in the folder that she could then put it.
Into
And
the
they
Google
don't-
Classroom.
They have to share outwards, then we can
gotcha.
get in. Yeah, that's what I discovered, because I was trying really hard to make that happen, and it's like, I could not get in. But yeah, but that would be really good. And I think here, your self-assessment, if you looked at the kids, they really learned that there was some silliness or not always taking responsibility,
Yeah.
but then you could focus in on that as a self-assessment and see how assessment shifts them to realize, right? And there's always a bit of time, but
Yeah.
too much silliness detracts from the learning, right? So how they learn to self-regulate that would be really an interesting assessment process.
Oh, for sure.
Right? And part of it would be, what did you do to help someone else learn? How much time did you off task that disrupted? Right? So they acknowledge that, then they realise it affects it. But I mean, generally they weren't too bad, but there was.
There definitely was.
And I remember the feedback you got from Elise that, got to be careful with these girls. They
Yeah,
do a little bit off task. It's not as obvious as the boys' misbehaviour, but it's still misbehaviour.
Yeah. So that was like one of the the things that like we could use the assessment like the student assessment to assess like how we were teaching. So I think I kind of like elaborated, maybe didn't really talk too much about that, but using the checklist to evaluate
Right.
how our teaching has been going thus far, and just seeing how on track they are. Because I know in our feedback that we were given from other people, exactly what you said, just be mindful, like when your back
Right.
is turned or you're fixing the
Yeah.
technology, just keeping like your
Right.
eye on some
Good, yeah. I gave you that feedback, and Elise gave that feedback,
Yeah.
right? And and you've got it all here. This is a good representation of all the stuff you got from your peers and teachers. So what are you focusing on this one?
This one, the reflection I decided to focus on, just because I thought it was super, I thought it was essential when we were looking to build our future plans. So starting with lesson 1, it was a little bit harder because we didn't have any really feedback, someone sitting in. So just drawing on things, it would have been nice if we did it right away, as soon as class ended, and just been we should have focused on this. I mean, there was it definitely veered off track. So I was able to recall and be this didn't work out, maybe try fixing this, and then it was also set as our baseline to see where they can progress into.
Yeah.
So kind of reflecting on that, and then it was nice.
It was really good. We had 2 weeks. I was so lucky that we had that lesson. 2-week gap that allowed you to replan, refocus.
Yeah, I was okay, now we know what's going on.
Yeah,
where they're at.
it was a plan. And when I had it, I went, this is.
Yeah, that was super
It
helpful.
was a really good plan.
Yeah.
It was pure luck, but I went, it works out really well.
Yeah, it really did. So
Yeah.
that was good to be able to just take a moment and then reflect. What should we switch? What should we change? And how are we going to get to our end goal?
Yeah. So that was really good reflection. So where you put yourself here is, where would you say you are? This is.
I said I think I am proficient
You
when it
become
comes to
proficient
reflecting on feedback from my peers.
because.
I'm willing to accept feedback and try new things, and I want to improve how my teaching.
Can you give me one
styles are.
example where you got feedback and you changed the following lesson?
I know one of the things Sarah said was being mindful of when people are getting off track and stuff like that. And I tried to focus in a little bit more on that in lesson 4, but I know when I was trying to fix the technology, then I turned my back kind of.
What was a really effective way of getting them back on task?
When I had my back turned, or just
When you
being
had to
mindful?
fix it, when you realised they're off task, what was a really good way of getting them back on task?
Just going over and asking, demonstrate this, or how far are you in your checklist, or can you.
So one thing I would say is use a name.
Right.
So Emma, how's that checklist? Have you finished yet? Or excellent. Just look how well Matt over here has done. He's now able to do this. You can move on, right? So you check, but rather than scold, either give a check, to make them accountable, or you compliment someone who's moving on, and then good, get ourselves going because Matt's moving on. Matt's doing it. We better catch up, right? So it's ways of getting them back on task without having to, which is just your bad teaching. Now you've made it worse.
Yeah. Okay, then I won't do that. I think I did talk a little bit about that, and I don't know if it was my reflection, the personal reflection, or after, giving areas for improvement and solutions. But yeah, exactly. Just be mindful. Say if you're working on, working with one pair because they're not quite getting it, or in this, I think it was actually the first lesson, Trent and I were going around group by group, and when they were going through the poses and everything like that, we were doing it with them to see how they were teaching, and like asking questions like, are you sure it's like that? Or just different things like that. But then just being mindful and being like, oh, look over there and exactly.
Yeah.
And
So how do you control it? So let's say, scanning and then safety, and then they need an adjustment, if they're on task, don't need an extension, I need to get feedback to help someone else, then scan again, right? So that process that we talked about in my show diagram is a very good one to keep in mind.
Yeah.
And then realize that some off-task behavior is bad teaching fault. So rather than scold the kid, correct it with good teaching behavior.
Yeah.
Now, if you're doing good teaching and they're doing off-task, then you freaking hit them.
Yes.
Right? But that's more disrespectful and it's obvious, right? And normally a warning and they back on.
Yeah.
But sometimes bad when they're off-task is your fault. So then you have to correct it without putting the kid in trouble. Right? Great. So, I see Brent's running, so the last two questions are, what was the highlight of you for the course? What was the main thing that you think?
Well, I definitely learned a lot. Like, I really didn't consider like how many teaching styles there were, and just being able to accommodate like different students' abilities and stuff like that. So I thought that was like a really good takeaway, just to be able to incorporate that into like different teaching. Like, say if I want to go coach again, because I coached a basketball team 2 summers ago, so just trying different things like that, and then just being able to, this is my first hands-on experience just teaching, so I thought like that was super like beneficial, and just to see, okay, yeah, this is what I'm in for, and this is what I want to do, and then it also just like kind of challenged me, like, do I want to go into high school, like teaching high school,
or middle school?
Or like middle school or elementary school.
Well, maybe now is the time if you can follow up with Lee's and just volunteer all the time in the class.
Yeah,
that would give you even better sense.
I've before, but I know probably won't work this semester. But I'm probably going to follow up and see if maybe next semester I can
make a connection with her, and then because even when your term finishes or the time, or she knows you're around, and there's a one-off event, you can come and join in. The fact you have French skills is also something she will probably use you. Right, so it's finding rather than regular commitment, it could be something where, But I'd follow up with her, because then you've got that. Keep it going.
For sure.
Right, that's how I keep with Aaron. I keep going with him. And the last one is there anything in the course that you would change that you think would be useful? Not that you have to, but something that you think would be a good idea to change.
Good idea for change.
Or develop. I have ideas myself, but I'm just seeing.
There's something about the lesson plans where sometimes I feel like just like balancing like other courses and stuff like that, like a little bit more time, I think.
So in class planning time?
Yeah, I think it was more so, like I can't remember what part of it, but usually there's something due on like the Friday night. I know sometimes it was like due on like the Saturday morning and stuff like that. So it was nice to just have like a little bit more extra time.
Right. So I did give you feedback, so you teach on a Monday.
Yeah, exactly. I know, so it's a little bit like tight that way, but it was nice to be able to still receive feedback.
Yeah.
And then you really like went in like all hours of like the night and been like, okay, I'm still up at 11 o'clock waiting to give you feedback. Like, let's go, kind of thing. So that was nice. But I don't know. The quizzes, it was nice to be able to have like a bunch of opportunities instead of.
Good, that worked.
Only got 60%.
Most people liked that. A few people didn't mind the class, but everybody else liked it.
Yeah, I thought it was like, because I mean, most of the time, or I feel like I've never had like an opportunity to redo kind of tests. I mean, like the odd time when a prof would say, oh, you can redo this for like one of your assignments worth like 5% or something like that. So that was nice to be able to have like.
Good. Well, and I liked it because I just made sure that you were doing the reading. And that you are, I mean, I see it as you contribute to the class because you've read something and you think about it and talk about it. But if you don't do the reading, then you're not going to contribute, right? Because then you're just waiting for whatever, to get my mark. But this means that you're doing something that feeds back. One thing I'd just add on here, do a little intro thing just about this. Just explain what's going on, because the articles are all really good. Just clarify what they are for someone else, it's not just me. And that would be perfect. But I'll write all the comments now. I've seen what you've done, and